I am joined by Congressman Dan Goldman. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
So your MAGA Republican colleagues, I guess they're now calling themselves, or people are calling them, the Red Tie Brigade. They're all showing up at the Trump criminal trial in Manhattan. Donald Trump dresses them up in long red ties. They all go there. They attack the judge's daughter. One MAGA Republican Congress member wore a tie with Donald Trump's face on it. Some strange behavior, dangerous behavior. What do you make of it all, Congressman?
Well, it's really pathetic. It's strange, dangerous. I think both are probably true, but the notion of making a pilgrimage up to New York City in order to undermine an ongoing criminal trial, to prostrate themselves in front of their dear leader, Donald Trump, wearing matching suits and ties. I don't know how they get up and look at themselves in the mirror in the morning. It's really embarrassing, but it would be just comical if it weren't so serious. And what is serious about it is what they are trying to do on behalf of Donald Trump is to undermine our rule of law. We have a very tried and true criminal justice system. We have requirements for a grand jury to indict. We have all sorts of constitutional requirements and rights that you have to go to trial and be tried by a prosecutor, where a jury of 12 impartial peers must find that you are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And this system has worked for us for 250 years. And the notion that just because Donald Trump has now fallen into the crossfire of the system, that the whole system is biased, is wrong, is partisan, is somehow flawed, is very, very dangerous. Because when you take the system down for Donald Trump, you take the system down for everyone. And there's no basis to be attacking the system in this case or any of his other cases. But the damage that is being done goes far beyond Donald Trump.
You were a former federal prosecutor. In any of the cases that you were on and you did, big mafia cases, dangerous crimes cases, you ever have a criminal defendant who posted or attacked the judge's daughter, attacked witnesses who were on the stand? You ever see anything the way like Donald Trump's behaving? And the fact that you have MAGA Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, show up, not even attend trial, and the Speaker of the House is standing there in front of a criminal courthouse attacking a judge's daughter. I mean, in my 15-year legal career, I never saw that, but I was never a federal prosecutor. So I defer to you, Congressman.
No, of course not. If any other defendant were to have spoken about the judge, spoken about the judge's family, spoken about witnesses like this in public, they would be locked up until the trial was over. Let's be very, very clear about that. This is unacceptable behavior. And if there is a double standard, it is that Donald Trump is still free on bail and that he's not in jail, because everyone else would be in jail. Look at Sam Bankman-Fried. He also went to jail pre-trial for violating the conditions of his bail. So it's anyone, no matter how wealthy or how poor, would be in jail but Donald Trump. And it's part and parcel, really, of his entire defense to not only this case, but the other three cases, it's purely political. He is not making much of a legal defense. Even his lawyers are not. He certainly is not. And everything he is talking about is purely political. But what makes our system so great and so dependable and so independent and objective is none of those political arguments are allowed in court in front of the jury. Those arguments can be made outside the courtroom. The jury is not supposed to read or see or look at anything related to the case. But you cannot make those arguments in court. And I think one of the things that's been heartening to see about this trial is that Donald Trump is not in control of that courtroom. He sits there quietly, sometimes falling asleep, but he is beholden to the judge's orders. And I think it's very important for every American to see that Donald Trump is no different than all of us. And that if he is charged with a crime by a grand jury and exercises his right to go to a trial, then he's going to abide by the same rules that all of us abide by.
So we went from a Democratic-led House of Representatives under the speakership of Nancy Pelosi and with President Biden in the White House, where you had the CHIPS Act, the PACT Act, Inflation Reduction Act, Infrastructure Act. I could go on and on and on. We see real tangible progress occurring. Over 40,000 infrastructure projects, the semiconductor industry being revitalized here in America. And then we go to right now this MAGA-led, completely dysfunctional mess that is the House of Representatives. I mean, you're in it. How bad is it? Do you have other Republicans who view themselves as more normal than what's going on privately saying to you, hey, Congressmember Goldman, this is some bad stuff, like we need to stop? How can you characterize it from being kind of in the eye of the storm, if you will?
Well, first, the contrast that you just drew is exactly the right contrast. And remember, Nancy Pelosi's majority was the same as Kevin McCarthy's when this Congress started. And what she was able to do has had such a dramatic impact on not only so many lives of Americans, but on the future of America and American infrastructure, industry, business, manufacturing, competition on the global scale. Many of those benefits from those bills have not yet been realized because some are long-term projects. But it will go down as one of, if not the most historic congressional term in terms of legislation in history, probably right behind Lyndon Johnson in 1964-65. So that was a remarkable Congress. What we have now is the exact opposite. And the only things that this Congress has been able to do, and the most basic things that we are responsible for doing, such as funding the government. That is our most basic thing. That took 6 months to do. And the only reason it finally got over the finish line is because Democrats led. Democrats have led every single bill that has become law in this Congress. Every single meaningful, significant, substantive bill, I should say. And that is really noteworthy because what it shows you is that we are not interested in the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Chip Roys and the Thomas Masseys trying to hijack this Congress, trying to grind it to a halt. We are interested in actually doing the work for the people. And that is borne out by the last Congress. It's borne out by the fact that the budget was only passed with us, the fact that the supplemental aid was finally passed with our leadership and the leadership of Hakeem Jeffries. So this is a completely inept Republican Party that cannot govern in any meaningful, significant way. Part of that is because Donald Trump and the MAGA right has overtaken control of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. And so you asked me, what do the moderate Republicans say? And there are fewer and fewer of them, but they are very frustrated because this is not what they want to do. And the notion that it's not good enough to simply vote against a bill, you have to ensure that that bill does not even get on the floor, even if 3/4 of the House would vote for it, and they're holding the speaker hostage in order to do that, is fundamentally contrary to everything that this body should be. And I hope that the voters recognize that in November and boot them out and let the Democrats take back over the House so that we can get work done.
Congressman Donald Trump, on his social media platform, continues to post and platform some of the most disgraceful and despicable things. By our count, over 1,000 QAnon memes. I mean, an actual death cult. He recently posted a video calling for a unified Reich as a way to make America better. And it seems that when Trump engages in behavior like this, first and foremost, you'll never get a peep from MAGA Republicans in Congress or the Senate at all. But these seem to be stories that maybe last for an hour or two, and then the media moves on to, is President Biden wearing a new version of the Hoka shoes, and, in ways to, so why is it that you think that it used to be if a politician couldn't spell potato or went woohoo or little things like that could derail it, but now for the media, he's talking about a unified Reich, he's posting QAnon, he's posting that J6 was an FBI op. Well, it's just Trump being Trump. How do we focus the people that go, this is not America, this is not the United States of America?
You've hit the nail on the head. Donald Trump has normalized behavior that should never be accepted, was never accepted, and should ultimately in the future, I hope, won't be accepted. But in part because you have the cult followers in the Republican Party who will not criticize him under any circumstances, that you embolden him, and he is unquestionably emboldened. And I cannot emphasize enough that whatever we may have seen from Donald Trump during his first term or on January 6th and the aftermath of it, or anything that we have been alarmed at, it will not compare to what he does if he wins a second term, because he will be so emboldened by winning a second term, given all of the criminal indictments against him, given January 6th, that he will unquestionably feel invincible. And at his root core, he wants to be a dictator. That's why he sucks up to Vladimir Putin. That's why he sucks up to Kim Jong-un. He sees them and envies the power that they have. And he will, and he's already started to, but he will continue to bit by bit blow up our democracy. But we cannot allow this kind of unified Reich talk just go out of the news cycle, because let's be real here. That was a video that Donald Trump and his team created, and they put it together. Those things take a long time. You will never convince me that no one had an idea that there was a headline in that video of headlines, that they had to choose which headlines to put in there, that no one knew there was a reference to Nazi Germany. And that's intentional, because that's what Donald Trump wants. And he continues to slowly float things. Then he checks the reaction. Then he pushes a little further, checks the reaction. And this is his MO. It's authoritarian 101 MO. But he'll throw it out there and see what the reaction is. And as you pointed out, Ben, there hasn't been as much blowback as we would hope there would be, or one would hope there would be. And so I don't doubt for a second that he will continue down this path and continue to push the envelope.
And now you have MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives calling to take down the words or strike the words if a Democratic member references the existence of Trump's criminal trials or civil verdicts against Donald Trump. So we saw it before with Democratic Congressmember Jim McGovern, who was just stating a fact. Here are the cases that Donald Trump's involved in. Here's a criminal case he's involved in. The MAGA Republicans rushed in right away. Take down his words, strike the words. And Congressmember McGovern's like, I literally just said the fact. He's on trial. Y'all are saying it's rigged and it's a sham. I just said he's in a trial. And then they removed the words. They took it down. They said it was a violation of House rules. I was horrified watching that. What's going on there?
They're abusing their authority in every way they can. And as little legislation as they are moving forward is as much partisan use and abuse of official authority that the Republicans are implementing. And they view their power in Congress and the use of that power to be an arm of the Donald Trump re-election campaign or the presidential campaign. And it's a gross abuse of power. They're weaponizing the government. It's a joke that there's a subcommittee that they created called the weaponization of the federal government, when that is exactly that is exactly what they've been doing this entire term. They're not legislating. They're just going forward with bogus impeachments, attacking the FBI, attacking the Department of Justice, attacking the intelligence community, trying to wear down the foundations of our democracy, all in service of Donald Trump. And this is just yet another example because they make those rulings. It's not an appealable ruling. And so whoever the chair is or is presiding over the House floor gets to determine unilaterally whether or not the words are against House rules. And I can assure you that Marjorie Taylor Greene has said many, many, many worse things than what Jim McGovern said. And we finally, there are 2 times now that her words have been taken down. One was in the Homeland Security Committee and one was last week. But it's not a deterrent, and they won't keep her in check. And yet she is trying to destroy this body.
And finally, Congressman, I would say our audience here at the MeidasTouch Network is made up of Democrats, independents, and mainstream Republicans, mainstream conservatives who see what Trump's doing, see what the Republicans are doing, and are very worried. But they look to people like you in the House of Representatives for hope. But let's face it, the relentless nature of this kind of right-wing fascism that's fairly unprecedented in our country can wear people down. It's relentless every day, over and over again, the craziness, the dangerousness. So finally, what do you say to the millions of people who watch our network who are worried and concerned, especially going into these next few months? What's your advice to them?
Well, I think everyone is correct to be worried. And what I think people need to understand is that this election, unlike any other to this extent at least, is not about policy. It's not about policy differences. It is purely about whether or not you believe in our democracy, whether or not you believe in the separation of powers, whether or not you believe in the rule of law. And those terms are somewhat abstract, but they are the foundation that has built this country into the best country in the world. And Donald Trump is trying to attack that for his own personal benefit, because a fair, equal, and just country does not treat someone who cheats and breaks the law very well. And so he needs to break that down so that when he does his misconduct, he's not held accountable for it. And so what I would urge everybody is to think about the future of this country, not tax policy or, this policy, but really think about what country we have lived in and what country you want to live in. I can assure you I will be here fighting for our democracy, fighting for the rule of law, the even-handed application of the rule of law. And that means that if Donald Trump is acquitted, he's acquitted. And that's how our system is meant to play out. And we will accept the verdict and move on. But you cannot be a party that says, I will only accept an election verdict if I win. And if I lose, then I'm not going to accept it. That is anti-democratic. That is dangerous. And that is not only what Donald Trump says. That is what all of his vice presidential candidates are saying. And that is what the large majority of the Republican Party is saying in fealty to him. So keep your head up, keep faith, keep fighting, and make sure you vote, because your vote is your voice. And it may not seem like it matters much, but the best way to express your feelings is to vote, even if you're in a very red state, a very blue state. Make your voice heard. Because then you have a right to complain.
Thanks for joining us, Congressman. As always, hope you come back.
Thanks, Ben.
And hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers. Thanks to your support, and have a wonderful day out there.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.